Hello children of the universe, and welcome back to my channel, Makeup and Science. My name is Darky, and this is where I like to play with makeup as I talk to you about science. Today I will be discussing the diagnostic criteria from the DSM-5 about borderline personality disorder, whilst I do a cosplay look for Trunks from Dragonball Z. So if that sounds good to you, sit back and enjoy. Hi guys, so I came here to do an impromptu video on a science topic that I think I'm passionate about. So like with my science topics, I've pretty much been taking it very easy so far. Like I did the microorganism video because I thought that was important for, you know, where we were in the world at the time, with, you know, COVID and the pandemic and everything. I feel like people needed maybe more information on what microorganisms are and how they sort of differ. And other than that, I've been playing it pretty safe, and I still am. And mental health, so this is a mental health topic. It's very, I guess, touchy, and a lot of people try to play keyboard psychologist or psychiatrist or any sort of mental professional, and you know, they don't have the background or real knowledge around it. So one, I do have professional background in it, and two, I have a personal background in it, and I wanted to sort of help demystify and talk about a serious mental health issue that is quite common and also quite demonized, and that is borderline personality disorder. So yes, if that's something that you're interested in learning about or listening to, that's what I'm going to do today. But I'm also going to be doing at the same time a cosplay look, because I wanted to do a photo shoot before I went blue, because this is the last time I'm going to be purple. So I'm going to be doing Trunks from Dragon Ball Z. This is actually a gym outfit, but yeah, I use it for cosplaying as well. So don't mind me as I try to masculinate myself to look like a male cartoon character, and I'll be talking about, yeah, borderline personality disorder. So today I'm using the diagnostic criteria from the Australian BPD, which is borderline personality disorder, BPD, Foundation Limited. So the diagnostic criteria for BPD in Australia is using the American Psychiatric Association Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders 5th edition, which is the DSM-5. And obviously that's used in America as well. That is like the handbook for mental diagnostics of most or all mental health disorders or illnesses, depending on what word you want to use. There was much discussion changing the diagnostic criteria. However, a decision could not be reached, and the criteria remained unchanged from the DSM-4. So every time there's a new version that comes out, you get a different number. So DSM-5 is the most up-to-date diagnostic criteria there is for mental health criteria. Also, excuse me for the background noise. I'm sure you can hear the air conditioner, but it is literally 0 degrees Celsius, which is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So, you know, the freezing point of water. Anyway, it's cold, so I have the heater on. Excuse. So the reason I wanted to do borderline personality disorder as my first topic for mental health is that I remember, being at university and then also in the professional workplace as a student, and listening to my tutors and people that were meant to be teaching me about mental health, that it's not a mental illness, that it is just a shit personality. That is literally what professionals told me, people that were teaching me. So obviously I take that to be true because you're meant to listen to your tutors, etc. That's not true. It is so not true. You cannot blame someone for developing the way that they do to protect themselves, because BPD comes from trauma, especially childhood trauma. So it's like telling someone that has DID, not split personality, I can't think of the word, dissociative identity disorder. It's like telling them that it's just a shit personality because they split so that they could protect themselves because of childhood trauma. And this is one of the reasons that I really wanted to talk about BPD, because I feel like, it's still very much misunderstood in society. I mean, more people are starting to talk about it, but it's still sort of prefaced by people having shitty personalities, and they're terrible people. So I'm going to discuss the DSM-5 diagnostic criteria for BPD. So I'm just reading straight from the website. A pervasive pattern of instability of interpersonal relationships, self-image, and affects. So affects are like emotions. And marked impulsivity beginning by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts, as indicated by 5 or more of the following. So there is 1, frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. Note, do not include suicidal or self-mutilating behavior covered in criteria 5. So just think of someone that's trying to avoid abandonment. So you can think of the way that people push away out of fear. So the whole, the trope, or I'll hurt you first before you can hurt me. That's it, Or, you're just not going to get into relationships to begin with. That's, friendships, family, lovers. You avoid it because you don't want to get hurt, because you're going to be abandoned. So to help masculinate my face and sort of make it look more cartoonish a little bit for cosplaying, I'm just going to really heavily contour and sort of chisel out my face. So diagnostic criteria 2, a pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships characterized by alternating between extremes of idealization and devaluation. So the way that I interpret that is that extreme swing of believing a relationship is idealistic. So it is amazing and so intense. So you can imagine the love and the passion that's felt is just intense, right? But then it swings to not valuing it, so devaluation, where it just becomes nothing, like it was just shit and not important and doesn't need to be taken care of or valued, or that's where that abuse, I guess, of lovers or friendships can come from, where one day it's like I love you, love you, love you, and then the next day it's just like I don't give. And I think that's also just in a manner to sort of protect. Well, that is way off. It's fun having a broken nose. Criteria 3, identity disturbance, markedly and persistently unstable self-image or sense of self. So, sense of self, your self-image, like, so this is where it's going to be interesting, because I'm seeing this from the inside as someone that does suffer from BPD. And that's sort of where it is. It's like, am I what the illness is telling me I am? Or am I what I want to be? And then it's like, what do I want to be? And so many people just don't have to make that decision in their everyday life. They can just be, and they just are existing, and they're not thinking about, what am I doing? How am I projecting myself in the world? Is this what I want to be? Is this how I want to act? Is this how I want to look? Is this the way I want to present? This is the way I want to think. Like, how do I want to think? How do I want to process information? Do I want to take it this way, or do I want to take it that way? Should I take it this way, or should I take it that way? And you're thinking, what the F am I on about? But I mean, let's just continue. So criteria 4, impulsivity in at least 2 areas that are potentially self-damaging. Example, spending, sex, substance abuse, reckless driving, binge eating, etc. Note, do not include suicidality or self-harm. Yes. So pretty much when people... So I am going to sort of link this to self-harm and stuff. Telling someone not to harm themselves, so they don't cut themselves anymore. But that is not the full extent of harming yourself. Is not just cutting yourself, right? There's so much more to it. And this is sort of that criteria where you put yourself in dangerous situations which could potentially kill you or hurt you, long-term main. And sexual behaviors can be that. So being reckless with sexual partners, or having multiple partners, or not using protection, or even being in a relationship but having high amounts of sex, and it's not in a healthy manner. I mean, you can have a lot of sex in a healthy manner, but this is where it's not healthy. So it's not good for you, or you're actually hurting yourself, or someone else as well. But it's sort of like a self-punishment thing. And then, criteria 5 is the recurring suicidal behavior, gestures, threats, and self-mutilating behavior. Self-explanatory. So there's the thoughts of it, but then there's the actual doing of it. Is a different thing. So Trunks in Cell Saga, where he has, so it's future Trunks with long purple hair. He is quite bronzed up. So I put a pretty light base. I did my Colourpop N40, which is like my autumn shade. And now I'm just going to sort of bronze myself up with the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. So number 6 for criteria is affective instability due to a marked reactivity of mood. Example, intense episodic dysphoria, irritability, or anxiety, usually lasting a few hours and only rarely more than a few days. So what does that mean? A reactive mood. So your mood is like your episodes, your emotions, your external emotions. So intense dysphoria, so that disconnection from reality that I was just speaking about, And that's why I'm saying, like, I don't really trust myself all the time. And thank God I've got a husband that can deal with me. But then I deal with him, so. Irritability. Yeah. You can see why this illness is seen as a shitty personality, because you just take things the wrong way, and then you can be a very irritable person and just like fly off the handle. And I'm saying that in a completely non-judgmental way, like I am talking about myself. And I think, oh look, I've got lots of friends and we all speak together. All right, so criteria 7 is the feelings of emptiness. I remember describing this to like my mom a month or so ago, because she's mentally healthy. She doesn't have any mental illnesses that have been diagnosed anyway. Doesn't, which is good. I mean, like, it's nice to have someone stable in the family. Yeah, the feelings of emptiness. I try to explain that, where you just sort of, it's worse than just feeling sadness. Like, people get depression. Like, people get depressed. Even without depression, you get depressed, because we all get sad. We all suffer and mourn loss. So depression is quite a normal, I guess, human experience. But the feeling of emptiness is something else. That is like floating in an ocean of nothingness and feeling, it's like a crushing on your chest at the same time as not being able to feel your body. I think, if you've experienced it, you can think of it, but if you've not, it's just painful nothingness. It's an odd experience, and it's not nice. And that's chronic, so chronically feeling like that. And I gotta say, like, even when things can be chronic, you can sort of, hopefully, like, the goal with mental health treatment is that, the thing is, you can never cure. You cannot cure a mental health issue. You can only help someone live with it. So the goal of treatment is to reduce these feelings or learn to cope with them, and having, like, knowing your triggers, knowing what the feeling is, like being able to identify what you're feeling, and then to be able to get yourself out of it, sort of thing, or manage it in a healthy manner. So I've just got a shit ton on bleh. So I've just got a shit ton of highlighter on my face, and I'm just gonna blend that out. So number 8 of the DSM-5 criteria for BPD: inappropriate, intense anger or difficulty controlling anger. E.g., example, frequent displays of temper, constant anger, recurrent physical fights. Oh yeah, I didn't have the physical fights, but the anger was real, especially after giving birth to my second child. Oh, it was really bad. Like, yeah, that was probably postnatal depression that I never got help for. Actually, I tried to get help, but like I said, that visit I had was useless. I was crying so much because I couldn't control my anger outbursts, and I felt so guilty, and I still feel extremely guilty. But I'm working through that with my eldest, and they're aware that I'm aware that I effed up, and I'm always trying to fix whatever I did wrong with them. and they understand, but obviously that's not something you can just fix by saying sorry, and I'm aware of that, and I'm aware of my actions. And that's the thing, another thing with mental illness, like even though there may be a reason to what's impacting on your actions as an explanation for the way you are, it doesn't give you a good reason to be the way you are. Like, you have to take responsibility for your bad behavior, and you have to do things to fix it or to avoid doing dumb crap like that. So I can definitely say 10 years later, I am much better. Like, I don't have the anger that I used to have, or the inability to control it, sort of thing. Like, I remember going to Araluen recently, which is a national botanical park, and I remember going when I had the children as babies, so they were really young, and I couldn't enjoy myself because I was so anxious and so angry all the time. Like, it just really stressed me out going out with the kids like that, and I would just lash out all the time. But then this time when I went, I didn't have any anger. It was just happiness. It was just enjoyment and pleasure, and I had a wonderful time with the children, with my mother. And I'm really grateful that I've been able to work through these issues, like, because it's so hard to be self-aware and to self-help yourself, because this stuff can't be fixed by medication. Like, there is no medication for BPD. It really is just cognitive brain therapy, which is CBD, and they're actually extremely expensive classes to go to, and it is really self-education, self-help, and changing your actions. So yes, number 8, intense anger and inappropriate anger. I feel you. Criteria 9, transient stress-related paranoid ideation or severe dissociative symptoms. Yeah. So why do people not deserve to be blamed, I guess, for BPD? So there is a strong environmental factor to BPD, and that is one of them. So environmental factors include being a victim of emotional, physical, or sexual abuse, being exposed to long-term fear or distress as a child, being neglected by one or both parents, growing up with another family member who had a serious mental health condition, such as bipolar disorder, or a drink or drug misuse problem. So as you can see, these are factors that affects, childhood, and you're a child and you can't control your environment. You can't choose who your parents are, and you can't choose how they treat you and how you react to it. And this is why I wanted to shine a light on BPD, because I feel like they are attacked or misunderstood in society. And now, as you can see in social media, there's a lot of people trying to be, keyboard psychologists and psychiatrists and trying to diagnose people with mental health issues that they probably don't have any right to, because you don't know that person's upbringing, you don't know their history, you don't know their pain, you don't know what they're going through, their struggles and their efforts to better themselves. So I thought, that this might be an important thing that people are interested in hearing and learning about. So yeah. There's also another criteria thing, which is I think the international diagnosis, and it's in the 11th series. So the criteria for diagnosis of personality disorder and related traits. So obviously borderline is a type of personality disorder. So it's characterized by problems in functioning of aspects of self, so identity, self-worth, accuracy of self-view, and self-direction. So like as I was explaining before, like how I view myself in society or my position in my life. I think way worse of myself than what is the reality, and like I have to try and put myself in someone else's shoes and see my accomplishments from the outside so I can try and believe it. Like I try to believe what other people say positively about me because I don't believe it of myself. Like I think it's BS. Anyway, and or interpersonal dysfunction, e.g. ability to develop and maintain close and mutually satisfying relationships, ability to understand others' perspectives, and to manage conflict in relationships that have persisted over an extended period of time, example 2 years or more. Friendships, yeah, I suck at that. Or like I probably do have friends, but then I don't believe it, so I'm like, I don't have any friends, but I probably do. I do have friends. I need to call them and stop thinking everyone hates me. Their second criteria is manifest in patterns of cognition, emotional experience, emotional expression, and behavior that are maladaptive. So example, inflexible or poorly regulated, and is manifest across a range of personal and social situations, i.e. is not limited to specific relationships or social roles. So it's not just with one person, but with like everyone. Everyone. The third criteria is not developmentally appropriate and cannot be explained primarily by social or cultural factors. So obviously people develop differently depending on where they grew up and the type of ethnicity or cultural beliefs that, you know, are in their society or family household. That excludes how they've actually developed. So it's become something other than what is expected of them in their society and their cultural norm. I don't really know what I'm doing right now. I'm just trying to add more depth because everything else is so heavily contoured and my eyes are just like, aye. And lastly, for the ICD-11, associated with substantial distress or significant impairment in personal, family, social, educational, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. Distress. Okay, I mean that's pretty broad, the criteria. I think you can sort of put that down to just feeling like you don't belong anywhere. That stress of just being in society. And that's got to do with all personality traits. I mean, personality disorder traits. So not just BPD. So I'm back and this is the finished look. Unfortunately, I lost the original footage. I don't know how, so I'm re-recording this in a different room because the study is currently being used. I hope you did find today's I hope you did find today's video educational, informative, interesting, and you know, if you need help, make sure that you seek the correct, you know, professionals for that help. It's always good to be able to talk to friends and I guess hear other people's perspectives, but in the end of the day, the best people to go to are medical professionals and mental health professionals. Also, a last note I did want to make is that as difficult as it may be for people on the outside to live with people or know people with mental illness, at the end of the day, it is the sufferer of mental illness that is having the hardest time. And I think compassion and understanding can go a long way. And if you do need help, seek it and speak openly. There's probably more people out there that are compassionate and understanding that you may not be aware of. So yeah, I ended up going a bit ham with the glam. I'm gonna go get my sword. I have a katana, and I'm gonna do some future Trunks photo shoots with my Saiyan armor. So yeah, I hope you did enjoy the show. I hope you enjoyed this video, and that I'll see you next time on Makeup and Science. Bye!